We have two dissidents, two dissidents, two dissidents, two dissidents, two dissidents. Now here's Russell and Keith. Here's Russell and Keith. It's Russ and Keith. Here's Russ and Keith. Let's go!
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
What's up, dissidents one and all? Welcome to a very, very broadcast news style edition of the Dude Issues podcast. Keaton Weiss here with Russell Dobular.
Hello. This
Man.
time on the other side of the screen. That's a product of you coming on after me.
Yeah, I think I
I'm
can
not
switch
used to
it
being
now
on
if I
this
want.
side.
Can I switch it?
Yeah.
I think I just switched
there
it.
we
There
go.
we go.
I was starting to get anxiety about that.
Well, that's part of our Red Brown Alliance brand. I'm supposed to be far left and you're supposed to be far right. So
Exactly,
now it works.
exactly.
Otherwise, the subliminal messaging would be way off. But
Get down.
Yeah, exactly. As you guys can see, we are in a different arrangement this evening than we usually are. Literally rushed this together with about 2 minutes on the clock and showed up a little bit late. And I guess I should start by explaining how this happened, right? It's amazing. You get a big crowd when you're fashionably late. We had like 50 people to start the stream. Should we be fashionably late more often? I don't know.
I promised them you were going to throw your kids over the fence like that pit bull. That's probably why. So the word got out on the internet that a guy was going to throw his kids over a fence.
All right, so let me see if I could explain what happened here. So the reason for this is because I was actually cooking dinner while I was preparing the Dissident Film Club for tomorrow. So tomorrow is Friday, starting this Friday, every Friday at 9 p.m., we're going to premiere our Dissident Film Club segments. And so we have tomorrow, we are unlocking what was a Patreon-only test episode with our good friend Anish Shivani. It was me and Anish talking about the great new series, The White Lotus. And so that came out about an hour and 10 minutes on the Patreon version. And there were a few things in there that were kind of in reference to the fact that it was patrons only, right? Because we were doing it for the patrons and the paid substackers only. And so I figured I would take some of that, trim some of that fat out since we're not going to be, putting it up for patrons only tomorrow night at 9 o'clock, which, by the way, it will premiere at 9 o'clock tomorrow night on this channel. And so, I figure I'm going to want to trim a few pieces out of it, but that doesn't really warrant me sitting down for an hour and watching the whole thing back. So I had my laptop running in the kitchen while I was cooking and figure when I hear something that I have to edit out, I'll go over and I'll edit it out, right? When you have kids, that's how you have to do it. You don't have hours and hours to sit at the computer editing these things. Needless to say, while I was stirring the escarole and bean soup, the computer was attacked by what looked to me like a velociraptor, but was actually my 3.5-year-old son, Sawyer, dressed as a velociraptor, who clawed the laptop, knocking it off the kitchen counter and onto the floor. The screen was completely fucked. The screen is still fucked. And so what I had to do was I had to rush into the living room now and hook it up to the monitor on the TV because we tried putting the video clips on a second laptop, but there was no way it would work. That old laptop is not powerful enough to stream the videos. And so at the very last minute, I had to change locations, and that's where I am now. So that's what happened. So needless to say, folks, the tip jar is certainly out tonight because it's going to cost a few $100 to get this laptop screen fixed. If not, if I can't do that, I'm going to have to get another computer entirely. So when we talk about, patrons keeping the show going, that's absolutely the case right here. So anyway,
Once we hit $100, he throws the kids over the fence.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
We never promise something and don't deliver it.
Now, Sawyer, I know Gene is saying, I bet Sawyer feels bad I mean, Sawyer, he's not old enough to know what he did. It was innocent when I was a kid. If my dad had a laptop, I'd have probably swatted his laptop off the counter, But
It's like having cats that you have to send to college.
yeah, only cats on two legs that are upright with much, much further reach. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I don't know. Cats get around.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Mika says next time close the door. There is no door. It's the kitchen, so they can come and go. They can come and go. So that is how that happens. Colin, in other words, please like, share, sub, and give money. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Nick is coming through. Thank you,
Boom.
Nick. $4.99. $1,595 to go, and we'll replace that. The thing about this laptop here, it's an unbelievable deal I got on this laptop. This laptop is a 2014 model MacBook Pro, so it's old. They don't make them anymore. And this laptop back in the day, this is souped up with the 16 gigabytes RAM and everything. Just runs at great speed. This laptop, new back in the day, would go for $3,500. I found it 3 years ago for $900 at a used store in New Paltz. So I got this at 25% of what it would cost, and it still runs like new. So we're gonna hope we can fix this screen, but if we can't, then yeah, could use those super.
Well, that's why I bought some Apple stock today.
Well, it was a good purchase.
They make a good machine.
They do make a good machine, and they just probably sold another computer.
Yep.
So there you go. There you go. All right, everybody. So that being said, that's why we are a bit late. But thank you guys, and that's why my backdrop is different. You may see some of their toys in the background. Do you? Not really. But anyway, that's how that goes.
Oh, look, people were being so nice.
Oh, Caitlin with another $4.99. Oh, there we go. That's very moving. I appreciate that. That's very heartwarming. You guys are great. Caitlin with the $4.99. Harpoon Wafy, is that how you say your name? Here's $20. Let's hear your take on Karen Kasparian. Yep, we're getting to it. Thank you, Caitlin. I appreciate that very much. Thank you, Axel, very much. Exactly. Well, thank you, guys. That's very kind of you. Before we get to our first segment of the night, which is Anna Kasparian, do we have any news? Is there any news to report about the speaker vote? I know that, what's his name? Kevin McCarthy is still not the Speaker of the House.
I know
he suffered a few more
10
losses
now.
today. 10 losses. So that breaks the record then, because the record was 9 in 1923. So he is now the losing.
Is that the
speaker
record?
candidate.
Didn't I hear something about it went on for like 2 months once in the 19th century?
Oh, maybe. But this is. I know in 1923 it went for 9.
Yeah.
So
So,
this is now
it beat the
century.
1923 one.
Exactly.
But I think there was one in the 19th century that went on for 2 months.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense then. But yeah, I know in 1923 was 9 rounds. Colin Radix Carter, thank you so much, my friend. I really appreciate that. You guys are very nice. You guys are warming my heart. I'm going to get sentimental. I'm not going to want to trash Anna Kasparian.
We're rethinking our nihilism.
Yeah, right. Exactly. All righty, everybody. Well,
No man is poor who has friends.
exactly. And maybe we should have unlocked that episode. We did a preview film club episode where we watched, reviewed It's a Wonderful Life as well. You do a good George Bailey. That was actually very nicely done.
No, Mr. Potter.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Did I put that one up by accident? Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, before we do get started, I do want to definitely give a shout out to the patrons tonight. It is especially warranted this evening. So if you can go to patreon.com/DoDissidents or DoDissidents.substack.com, it really helps us out. It'll help us keep our technology online. I'm also going to need a very, very hot bath after this episode because I am squatting like a catcher to do this. I have no chair. I have no seat. I'm literally, how a catcher waits for a pitch.
Yeah, what are you on? Like a little? You're on like a drum stool.
I'm not on anything. I'm squatting on my knees. I'm on the floor.
Are you literally on your knees?
I'm on the floor. I'm on my knees. I have my kid's toy chest in front of the TV. I think my phone is under the toy chest. I hope I didn't crush my phone. I hope I didn't break my phone also.
That is real dedication, man. That is real dedication.
Yeah.
There's one of those stories that we'll tell later on the Tonight Show.
I will take a
when
picture.
when the Tonight Show is being done by Russell Brand because the culture is that dramatically shifted.
I'll take a picture of the setup and I'll post it on Facebook and Twitter so everybody could see how we did the show this evening. Give you a little behind the scenes peek. All right, we got another wonderful donor, Julie. I believe you're a patron also, Julie. Oh, so sorry, Keaton. Thank you for having been trying to do work for us while making dinner, kids of all things. Well, yeah, absolutely. That's when I have to do it. You know, we don't really have regular. It's hard to get regular office hours when you have 2 kids and you got a day job and you got to do this. So I tried to do 2 things at once, as I am usually able to do. But like I said, suffered a bit of a dinosaur attack. So there you go. Anyway, thank you guys very much. Let's get the program started.
You're not going to put the kids in a closet with like one of those creepy crucifixes with a particularly bloody, agonized Jesus and make them think about what they did.
Wasn't that a story in the Pillow Man play? Didn't they do something like that?
Well, I'm really being inspired by Carrie White's mother there.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I wasn't sure. All right. Well, let's get on with the show, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right. So, up first, obviously, now that the MAGA Republicans are exercising the kind of leverage over their party's speaker race that many on the left wish that the Squad would have just 2 years ago, there is renewed debate, obviously, over the merits of the force the vote strategy put forward first by Jimmy Dore and then, obviously, Breonna Joy Gray and a handful of others. Now, TYT, they were amongst the loudest of the faction that was, opposed to the force the vote tactic, or not even necessarily at first loudly opposed to it, but, they had questions, they were nitpicking it a bit and things like that. And
wasn't that really a news skirt grudge? Anna was very upset about Jimmy Dore's history at the station with them, and
I mean, he was calling them out for a while without actually calling them out because they gave him his start. So you can see he obviously wanted to go a lot further than he was going. But then this just kind of put that whole kind of feud into hyperdrive. And, at first, I think Cenk Uygur actually liked the idea. A lot of the bread tubers actually liked the idea. But then when the Squad showed that they were hesitant about it, they, of course, had to come up with some rationale because they were already all in on the Squad. Obviously, Cenk was one of the founders of not only Justice Democrats, but then didn't he go on to found a PAC called Rebellion PAC that just disappeared?
I thought he was involved in Wolfpack, isn't he?
Wolfpack was, he had Wolfpack for a long time. But after Justice Democrats, after he left Justice Democrats, he founded Rebellion PAC, I believe, which is something that's now been completely defunct because this woman named Brianna Wu actually tweeted today, and it has in her bio that she's the executive director of Rebellion PAC. And Rebellion PAC has not tweeted out anything since April of last year. Yes. Thank you, Colin. I appreciate that. Oh, boy. It's going to be hard to clip these segments tonight, folks, but thank you to our lovely audience for showing up. If Russell and I were not men of the theater, we would have canceled the show tonight. But
we're coming out of a tradition where canceling is not on the menu.
It's not an option. The show must go on. When you're in the live theater, that is the motto, and so that is why we are here. But thank you guys for showing up.
You know what the worst thing is with theater? When you're in a situation where you have more people in the cast than in the audience, and the people backstage don't want to do the show, and the people in the audience really don't want you to do the show because it's going to be so horribly awkward for them.
Right.
But then because there's the show must go on ethos, everybody winds up having to be subjected to this horrible experience that nobody wants to be involved in.
Yeah.
And you're forced to do the show and they're forced to watch the show. And everybody goes home, kind of like you leave a brothel with your head down, hoping nobody sees you.
Exactly. Although we actually have a very good crowd here this evening, so thank you guys once again for showing up. So let me think of an edit point there. So even now. Even now, after that whole, Jimmy Dore feud has been raging for 2 years, Anna Kasparian, even in the midst of us witnessing the success of the Republicans' force the vote strategy, she still feels a need to trash it and mock it. She got a super chat on her show, which, by the way, whoever sent the Young Turks a super chat should be fucking ashamed of themselves. You're sending them a super chat on the YouTube? But this segment here was in response.
They got that Katzenberg money. What are you sending them super chats for? They don't need your money.
They got a listen, if we get a $20 million investment from Jeffrey Katzenberg, we will not solicit super chats anymore.
No, that'll be it. And then we'll still speak our mind, and then we're gonna have an accident.
Yeah, right, exactly. Maybe I'll buy my son Sawyer a $3,000 laptop that he can destroy if we get a $20 million investment. This way, I'll keep
your son's going to be like the Pete Townsend of laptops.
I should do at the end of every show. Yeah.
Won't get fooled again.
Yeah, exactly. Just crack it over my knee, rip the screen off. It's a good idea. All right, so let's hear Anna Kasparian in response to a super chat asking, hey, wait a minute. It looks like, because whoever asked this question was saying, hey, it seems like the Republican force the vote strategy is working. So doesn't that mean maybe Jimmy Dore wasn't as wrong as we thought he was a couple years ago? Let's see what she has to say.
Read one super chat because it asks an important question. I want to read one super chat because it asks an important question. I actually was tempted in talking about this a little bit in the previous segment, but I decided against it. Now I'm going to. The question is, can you explain how this force the vote is different than Dems force the vote? There are lots of force the vote proponents who say AOC should have done what the Republicans are doing now with Pelosi in 2020. Well, remember, force the vote was about withholding votes for Nancy Pelosi's speakership role until she made the concession that there would be a floor vote on single-payer health care in the House, which would have failed. Okay, so the ask was for a vote that would fail. I mean, I at this point, I almost just wish that it would have happened because I would give anything to have Brianna Joy Gray move on with her life and maybe talk about something different. Like, it's ridiculous. But this McCarthy situation is different because the concessions that McCarthy has agreed to don't even matter for the group of Republicans who refuse to vote for him, okay? They don't care about the concessions. They don't trust him, and they've said so. They don't trust him, they're not gonna vote for him. It's not about concessions.
Okay, let's pause it right there. We will let her finish in just a moment. It's not about concessions. Now, at this point, 2 days in, that's probably true, because at this point, it's probably too late for McCarthy to salvage anything. Why? Because the anti-McCarthy faction has already built up momentum, which only gets more and more severe with each time he fails on the House floor, right? It's like at the beginning of the Russia-Ukraine war, Russia had 3 things that they wanted from Ukraine. Now that the war started, it's going to be hard for Ukraine to end the war on those terms because as your hand gets worse, you dig yourself more in a hole. But actually, leading up to the first floor vote, the anti-McCarthy faction did want concessions for him. And those concessions, they wanted concessions from him, rather. And those concessions were actually eerily similar to the specifics of the force the vote. Lauren Boebert went on Fox News right after the first day of voting, and she explained to Bret Baier what she had laid out as terms the night before when she met with McCarthy. I have the transcript of that. I don't have the video. She said, just last night, 2 colleagues and myself walked into Kevin McCarthy's office and presented him a very common sense proposal, a deal that got him 218 votes, the gavel on the first ballot. And he smugly rejected that. And it was very common sense things like putting forward a border security bill, putting forward a term limits bill, having a measure in place to where any member of Congress who offers an amendment to reduce the federal debt, well, that's made an order. And there were so many other things that were common sense and even requests that he had made at us or of us, she said, that we presented to him. And right now it is seeming very difficult for McCarthy to come back around and pick up those votes that I had in hand for him last night. So she said the night before the vote, she came to him and said, I have the votes you need to win, but there are things you have to do for us. What were the first 2 things that she mentioned there? Put forward a border security bill and a term limits bill. She went on to say in the interview she was not demanding that those bills pass. She wasn't asking him to whip the votes for those bills. She wanted floor votes. Floor votes.
Yeah.
If I weren't in the living room and my kids weren't sleeping down the hall, I would be screaming floor votes. Instead, I'm scream whispering floor votes. That's what she wanted. She wanted to force a floor vote on a border security bill and a term limits bill. And had he given her what she wanted, it's very likely that she would have given him the votes that he needed. What this means is they forced the vote. And he told them to go fuck themselves, and so she told him to go fuck himself. And now he is where he is, almost certain not to win this thing. That's how it worked. So this idea that, whoa, they never cared about concessions. That's not what they... No. Of course they did before round one. Now why would they throw him a lifeline now? After he screwed them 2 and 3 times.
Well, now it's gone too far.
Right,
now it's gone too far. But yeah, this is how it is actually supposed to work. And you're seeing, just as I said the other day when we covered this, oh my God, every shit lib you know right now. Oh, look at those Republicans. They can't even get it together. You could only be so lucky as to be a member of a political party where people actually stand up to your fucking corrupt leadership. God, we had a conversation about toning down the cursing today. Maybe I don't.
All right, that was the first one in a while.
That was the first one, but I haven't talked a lot. As soon as I started talking, the cursing began. I'm also going to say, I almost don't consider this a curse, so I'm going to stick with it. Who is Anna Kasparian to shit talk Brianna Joy Gray? She was going to Harvard Law School when you were playing the bimbo on the original TYT concept, where you were walking up to strange men in shopping malls and seducing them into buying you shoes and then going on the air and bragging about it. That's your background, Anna.
She was in charge of scoring camel toes.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. That you were the chief operating officer in charge of camel toe evaluation. Yeah. So who are you to be talking about Brianna Joy Gray and her journalism? I don't understand what TYT is about. Is it just a straight grift? They just want that Katzenberg money. Or they are just basically, look, Cenk started out as a Republican. Do they just have a little bit of a right-wing lean? And it's just coming out more and more, especially the less they are financially dependent on actually having viewers and fans, because something that you want to see how hated they are. We've done hit pieces on Kyle. We've done hit pieces on David Dole. We've done hit pieces on Vanguard. We've done hit pieces on Majority Report. The only people we ever do hit pieces on without any pushback from fans is TYT.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Nobody stands up for TYT. We have never gotten pushback on a video criticizing TYT. Right. So what Jimmy Dore says is correct. Nobody's really watching them anymore except to hate watch them. And I guess shit libs who want to feel like they're too hip for MSNBC watch them. Some of Maddow's audience probably went over there.
Right.
But other than that, if this is your take, what are you doing here? What are you doing here other than grifting? And that's something they're very fond of accusing everybody else of.
Of course. Right.
Everybody else is a grifter.
Right. Exactly. Everybody who steps out of line is a grifter. But the guys who took a $20 million duffel bag from Jeffrey Katzenberg, they're not the grifters.
They're exactly. And you're in alternative media space pushing MSNBC talking points with a little more progressive sympathy or sympathy towards progressive politicians. That's about all you're doing, which looks like pretty classic controlled opposition to me.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, let's let her finish.
The whole force the vote thing was about an ask that would have ultimately failed and could have potentially hurt single-payer healthcare or the pursuit of single-payer healthcare because maybe some who might be open-minded to it would be less open-minded to it if it's already failed through a House vote. You get what I'm saying? Anyway, but at this point, I don't even care. I wish it would have happened so we could just move on. I'm so tired of like the personal branding exercises that are like forced upon us day in, day out by people who can't move on from something that happened literally in like 2019 or 2020.
Oh my God, it's 100 years ago.
Yeah, right, exactly.
This is not 2019. God, there were still dinosaurs roaming the earth in 2019.
Aren't there Trump tax returns floating around from 2016, 2017, 2018 that I'm sure TYT is very, very much interested in?
Yes,
right?
yes.
But no,
Well,
this was 2019.
No, that's just so absurd. 2019, like how could you? What are you even talking about? It's such a dumb take from beginning to end, from top to bottom. That's why it just shocks me, because when I watch the Majority Report, I get where they're coming from. I don't agree with it, but I get it. I don't even understand that take. What was that?
No, it's absurd.
What was it?
It's absurd. First of all, the idea that Medicare for all would have failed, sure, it obviously would have failed. Just like a term limits bill that Lauren Boebert wanted would have failed. Well, you think a majority of the House is going to vote for their own forced unemployment? No, that of course would have failed. They wanted to put pressure on people to let them know where they stand, so that if some were vulnerable to a primary challenge, they could use that against them. Now, look, we were on record, I believe. I mean, we weren't on YouTube much back then, but we had an audio show, and we weren't in love with the Medicare for all ask either, because we didn't think they should force a vote. We just thought they should not vote for Nancy Pelosi outright. Fuck this leverage. Just say no, we're not voting for it. Pick someone else. I thought force the vote was actually too soft. I would have just said, what do you mean force the vote? Just don't vote for it. There were other people who said you should have asked for other things. Okay, you can have a good faith disagreement over what the ask should have been, or if there should have been an ask at all. But the idea that it would have failed is not the point. That's obviously not the point. The point is you have demands, you have leverage when your party is in the slim majority, and you use that leverage to extract as many concessions as you can. If some people thought Medicare for all was the right one, other people had other ideas. We thought you shouldn't have asked for anything. You should have just told Nancy Pelosi to go fuck herself, right? But okay, you want to disagree over that, fine. Pointing out that, well, it would have failed and what, hurt the cause of Medicare for all? Right, because Medicare for all is so far down the field now, right? I mean, it's absurd. It's absurd.
Yeah, no, it's a good thing they backed down on that. We've got them right where we want them now.
Yeah,
Look at all those committee assignments.
The long game.
Rashida, Ilhan, AOC, they're running the place now in exchange for backing down on that. In exchange for voting for Pelosi, they were playing the long game, right? Look at all these committees they're running. Look how elevated they've become. This is why you don't bow to these people, because they're not going to give you anything anyway.
Right.
It's not even you compromise yourself to no purpose whatsoever, and you burn the people who got you there, who now have abandoned you.
Whoever becomes speaker on the Republican side now is going to be afraid of Matt Gaetz,
and
Lauren Boebert, and the 18 others. They're going to know that they can't cross them, because if they cross them, they might find themselves in trouble in the 2025, right? Sorry, it's been a long day, folks. I forgot what year it was.
2024.
2025 session when it starts.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay. Yes.
They might find themselves in trouble again, because they elect a speaker every 2 years. So if whoever comes out of this Speaker of the House doesn't stay on Matt Gaetz's good side, they could be in for this same thing in 2 years. That's how you do it. That's called politics.
Oh, politics.
And on the Democratic side, they don't believe in politics. They believe in conformity. Conformity is not politics. Debate and strategy, that's politics, right? That's actually what you're there to do. You're not there to all fall in line in a big tent party. Big tent means we get nothing done. Big tent means we have some who believe that healthcare is a right, and some who believe that insurance companies have a right to deny you healthcare if it helps their bottom line. That's not a political party, right? That's not how a political party functions, right? And so
I would call them a party of pussies, but I think too highly of pussies. It would be an insult to pussies.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Yeah, the no cursing episode is going really well. So, can you imagine if the Democrats had somebody like Matt Gaetz who would actually have stood up there when Pelosi was up for the speakership, who would have actually said, I am not voting for Nancy Pelosi until she explains how she more than tripled the stock returns of Warren Buffett, one of the world's greatest investors this year. When she can explain that to me in a way that makes logical sense, that does not take into account insider trading. She can find an explanation other than insider trading that makes sense. Explain it to me like a 6-year-old. Okay, explain to me how you did that. Not just this year, last year, the year before. If you can explain that to me, you have my vote. Come out on the floor of the House and explain that to the American people. Can you imagine? Because how do you get out of that? How do you get out of that? I mean, the usual suspects, the CNN people, the MSNBC people, yeah, they're going to throw the ick on you, and the usual suspects are going to go along with it. But you know what? That's not the majority of the American people. For most of the American people, you would be a hero to your dying day if you did that. But even none of them have the balls.
Even if it caused some short-term harm to the party. I mean, Matt Gaetz gave an answer at a press conference because somebody did mention, well, what if Hakeem Jeffries becomes speaker after all this, which is not going to happen. The only way Hakeem Jeffries could become speaker is if 6 of the McCarthy GOPers, not 6, it would actually be way more. Well, no, it would be 6, I'm sorry, because Hakeem is at 212, because there are 212 Dems in the House. If 6 of them got so fed up with the process that they said, okay, we're voting for Hakeem Jeffries, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
And nor would it have happened with forcing the vote on Medicare for all.
Exactly.
That would never have happened.
Right. Because the only way it can happen is, in order to be elected speaker, you need a majority of votes cast for a person. So if someone votes present or they don't vote at all, that lowers the threshold. And so the only way Hakeem could win is if either 6 GOPers vote for him, or if enough Republicans sit out, meaning don't vote at all, which allows 212 to become the new majority number. They will not do that because you can vote for any human being on earth for Speaker of the House. So there's no way they would risk
trolled them today. He nominated
he nominated Trump. Right, exactly. They can nominate me if they want. You know what I mean?
Sure.
In fact, I hope one of them does.
I think we should start a petition.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Start a change.org petition. Get it to the Republicans. Keaton Weiss for speaker.
But yeah, right. But Matt Gaetz was asked, what if Hakeem Jeffries becomes speaker? He replied, I don't care. That's the attitude you have to have. You have to have imagine a Democrat saying, I don't care. You have to be willing to hurt the party in the short term in order to have this happen. In the long term, this is a good thing for the Republican Party, not a bad thing. In the long term.
You cannot win a game of chicken unless you're prepared to go all the way.
Right, exactly.
Otherwise, don't even start. Don't do idle threats, because then once you back down, you'll never be able to play that card again. Once you pull it, you need to play the game to its conclusion.
Absolutely. All right, let's read some super chats. Thank you, guys. You guys are coming through big for us this evening. For those who wandered in here, the reason why I probably look like I'm taking a crap now is because I'm squatting like a catcher. I'm on no chair. I'm in the living room.
That's hardcore, man.
We had technical difficulties, meaning my son knocked my laptop off the kitchen counter while I was cooking dinner. And so that broke the screen. So I had to wire the laptop to my living room TV, which is where I am now. Chris Bishop says, I know a guy. Yeah, that's right. Chris is from Newburgh. I know a guy in downtown Newburgh who can get a cheap MacBook. Only problem is that I'll have a big scratch on the serial number and some blood stains. Yeah, I actually do know.
We're not choosy.
Yeah, right. We're not choosy. As long as the blood stains are not on the over the webcam, then it'll be fine. But I actually know a guy on Broadway in Newburgh who actually fixes laptops. I'm going to see what kind of deal he can give me on a screen repair job. I have a feeling it's not going to happen, folks. I have a feeling I'm going to have to spring for a new laptop because this is a 2014 model. They don't even make this shit anymore. Yeah. So I'm probably have to go through Apple. I don't have Apple Care because it's a used product from it's almost 10 years old. So it's going to cost me like $600-700. At which point I'll probably just spring for a new computer rather than $600-700 for a screen.
Right.
So anyway, thank you guys for keeping those super chats. They are going to good use this evening. Vegan Goddess, yeoman work tonight. Yes, thank you so much. Appreciate that. And we had a couple others down here. I'm sorry it took a while to get to these. Thank you guys for showing up late tonight. We were supposed to be on at 8. We had to delay it until 9 because I tried to get another technical setup to work, but no luck there. So thank you guys for showing up. Mike, $20. Thank you so much. Just home from work. Happy to catch some live action. Well, thank you, Mike. I appreciate you very much. And Zach, thank you. Anna didn't congrat Nancy on her speakership. Victory, I don't remember what they actually... I don't remember... I mean, they probably didn't have the guts to actually come out and take
They
Nancy's
probably
side.
didn't talk about it.
Yeah, they just probably avoided it. Would have been my guess. Cool Blue, thank you. Every person who opposed forced to vote and who makes his or her living in politics while also claiming to be progressive is a con artist. Yeah, I mean, I think whether you were on the right side at the time, I think this pretty much proves that in retrospect, you would at least have to give it up at this point.
All
Say,
all the BS reasons they gave for not doing it were the BS. I remember you actually spent a lot of time breaking down the math. We had an episode where you broke that down, explaining how what they were claiming was impossible. That McCarthy would become speaker was impossible. And you spent a lot of time explaining that.
I actually made a whole video by myself taking Jimmy Dore to task for not getting his math right originally, because he made it sound like they would have needed 12, and I think they would have only needed 4 or 5.
Right, yeah. It wasn't even as many as
he was saying, and then the people attacked me for that. Yes. Luckily, we didn't have as many people watching the show at that point, because then they would have attacked me more. Colin gave us $1.99 super sticker. Thank you, Colin. I appreciate that very much. For those who stumbled in late, my son destroyed my computer a couple hours ago. That's why I'm on the floor with my broken computer hooked up to my TV. I feel like I should say that every 10 minutes to solicit donations.
Yes. Yes, you should. Yes, you should.
Very important. Very important. You know, we were very excited for this new year. We really thought this was going to be a big year for us. And first, the plague fell upon our house, which screwed up our first live stream. And then this happened. We were all ready for tonight. We were very excited. And now this. So far,
well, you know, it's only up from there.
Yeah, exactly. Can only get better from here.
As long as I don't get eaten by a tiger in the subcontinent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. Yeah, that would be something.
That would suck. That would really suck.
Hey, while you're in India, maybe you can grab me one of those laptops straight from the Apple factory. Maybe I can get factory.
Probably,
pricing.
I could get one for $20 over there.
It'll
It'll be like in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. There will be guys like whipping children, but yeah, exactly. I could get it.
Not a government shutdown. Yeah, that was, I think, one of the things that she didn't want, which, so there were 2 conditions that Ro Khanna actually sent in a letter regarding the possibility of a coalition government, meaning some Democrats would flip over and vote for a compromise Republican, right? Like a Liz Cheney type or somebody who's not in the House, right? And Ro Khanna said the 2 conditions that they would have to satisfy in order for the Democrats to go along with that. One would be to agree not to default on the debt. And then the second one really showed their hand, is they wanted to limit the subpoena power of the House majority, which... talk about, you know, nothing to hide, right? Nothing to see. Yeah. Of course, they're not going to agree to that. That's the whole point of them winning the House. That's what they're most excited about. There would be a revolt in the Republican Party if they ever did that. So that's not going to happen. But thank you. Your mother was a hamster. I appreciate that. Haven't seen you here before. If this is your first time here, folks, please hit that subscribe button. I don't know where my cell phone is, so I can't check the subscriber numbers, and I can't even check how many people are in whichever forum. I think my phone is actually under the toy chest that this computer is on right now. But please hit that like button and please subscribe to this channel. Thank you guys very, very much. Virtuoso, nice to see you here, my friend, and thank you for the donation. So much concern about the optics of forced to vote, but don't give 2 shits about the optics when the elected official we put faith on do nothing. Well, yeah, of course. Of course. And now you have Jamal Bowman and AOC. They both went on MSNBC over the last couple of days. All smiles. I wrote this in a piece. Now they go on MSNBC and they get treated well, right? They're all smiling.
Yeah. You notice how you don't get that tone of derision when the squad's names come up anymore?
Right. Now they get
See,
along great with
yeah,
Alex
now they're
Wagner and
cool.
Morning Joe and everybody. Right. They're cool.
If he hadn't committed suicide, they'd be hanging out at the Epstein mansion right about now.
You're
They'd
right,
be getting an invite to those fabulous dinner parties, if you want to call them that.
Yeah, exactly. Cool Blue 199. Thank you very much, guys. This is very inspiring that you're keeping the donations coming in on a night like this. Thank you very much. Force a vote. R's equals fight. D's gaslight. Yes, indeed. Absolutely correct. All right, shall we do segment number 2?
I just want to call attention to this because I love this guy's screen name. Both parties are traitors. I love it. I'm so glad I stopped voting for anyone running for office as a Democrat since the 2016 general. I've been writing in Bruce Wayne and Harvey Dent personally. I've been voting on ballot initiatives and for third-party independent candidates only. Best decision I made. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I do that, and then if there's nobody on the ballot that I can vote for, then I start writing in characters from Gotham.
Right, there you go. Yeah, Russell voted for Dave Chappelle for president last time.
I did. Last time I wrote in Dave Chappelle in 2020.
That was 2020. That was before a lot of the controversies. Will you vote for him again? Are you endorsing him for re-election?
Now I would vote for him twice if it wouldn't, get me investigated.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, we have some more gossipy stuff to get to, but this is actually pretty hilarious. Okay. Now, if you guys have not, and most people have not seen this segment has not done well considering how many subscribers each of these guys have on their channels here. But there's a new supergroup on YouTube called the Leftist Mafia, which is hosted on David Dole's channel. So it's
this is no traveling Wilburys, we'll tell you that.
That's what I was gonna say. It's the traveling Wilburys of shit libs here.
Of shit libs, yeah.
David Dole, Matt Binder, the guy who's from the Surfs. I don't know what his name is. Mike Figueredo, Olayemi Olurin, who I don't know if I'm saying her last name right, but she's actually done some decent work, some decent writing. She's more of an activist and a commentator, but hanging with the wrong crowd here. And then there's someone who calls themselves Blair Zahn, who really, I think encapsulates the show here. You can see here before we start playing the clip, you can see she's got the Orwell eye.
Okay.
There, she's an animated figure, sort of a cartoon person, like the.
She going for Orwell or the
Gorillaz
Freemasons?
band? Oh yeah, that's more the Freemasons. That's right. Orwell is just the eye.
Yeah, no, I think she's going for the Freemasons or something. Illuminati, that kind of.
I stand corrected. Anyway, they also fielded an audience question. It's funny how this week you've seen the sort of mainstream Democrat orthodoxy really called into question. First, we had the Republicans successfully forcing their vote, which leads a lot of TYT people to be like, wait a minute, maybe we should have been on board with that after all. These guys got a question here about whether the squad was correct to break up the rail workers strike. So let's hear the supergroup here. Let's hear this Algonquin Roundtable respond to that.
The question comes from Belly Bean, and they ask, was the squad correct with their votes on the railroad strike?
They worked with the unions to like, so initially I thought it was dumb like everybody else, but then I was reading from labor reporters, not just like, random people like Jonah Furman, who is a great labor reporter. He said that the reason they voted that way is because unions worked, like told them basically to, the idea was they wanted to put up this amendment to add sick days to the Senate, and to do that it has to pass in the House. So the idea was for them to vote for it. Now you could argue, well then why didn't Rashida Tlaib vote with it? And I think I think in terms of strategy she was correct not to vote with it. But apparently the other members, that's why they voted that way. It isn't to say it was a good strategy or defensive, it's just to explain why they voted that way.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Shama Sawant versus Ryan Grimm debate on this?
No.
It got pretty down to the core at it.
Okay, first of all, what do you mean no? Like, if you do this for a living, you needed to watch that. Like, if you didn't watch that, how can you be informed on this, right? I mean, it's very odd that a guy so concerned with working class labor issues would just skip out, because that was the talk of the
Sure.
YouTube town for
Sure.
like a week after that happened.
Sure.
No, I didn't
Sure.
watch it. Didn't watch
Yeah.
it. I was busy sniffing out the transphobes on my Facebook page.
Yeah.
They knew going into this, a lot of the people, like, not the you're totally right. Everything you just said is 100% correct. It's what they were asking the squad to do. But this was a DOA, and they should have recognized it as such. There was no way that this was not going to die in the Senate. And it's one of those things like, so what are the two options? A, you don't vote for it, and you hope that enough of you have a strong enough contingent to shut it down, period, because that's what you'd have to do, so it doesn't even go to the Senate. Or you do it that way, knowing full well that it'll die in the Senate, but at least you tried to add that 5-day tack on. It is the other problem. But it's weird because it's one of those things, like a union, like anything else, it is fallible. It's human. And the leaders of a union could be wanting or saying things that are not directly in the interest of all the workers, at which point it's up to the people within the union to be able to say, we have to change our management because the union heads are not in our interest. But there's a lot of people within the union who are very upset about what happened because they thought they should have just not voted for it at all. So, and from a political standpoint, it's a nightmare no matter what. If you're a progressive, if you're a squad member, it's lose-lose in both directions. It's either I do what I think is best in opposition to what the union bosses are asking for because I know it's DOA. So I say I'm not voting for this in the House, so it never makes it to the Senate. At which case, a lot of people will be mad because it's like, whoa, you went against what the union asked for. And in the other direction, they do what they did, and everyone is still like, well, what the fuck? But it just died and they got nothing. And now it's over. Like, what do we do now?
Okay, let me just pause that here to respond to the man there, whatever his name is, who looks like the inside of a toothpaste tube.
I think doing the show under duress it really suits you. I think.
I mean, I'm angry.
Your
today.
comedy chops are right on.
I'm
right
angry
on
at the world. Well, you know, comedy is born of pain. Comedy is born of tragedy.
It's true.
Right?
It's
the
true.
Irish and the Jews have a similar sense of humor. We both have tragic pasts, and so we both have dark senses of humor. It's a coping mechanism. But anyway.
From now on, you do the show in a gimp suit.
Exactly. Exactly. So this guy recommended to Mike Figueredo the video of Shama and Ryan Grimm. And it's funny because if you watch that video, I don't know how you can watch that video and then make these points he's making, because these are the exact points that Ryan Grimm was making, and Shama shut him down by saying this kind of obfuscation is really horrible. I mean, Shama Sawant's real deal. She don't pull no punches, right? She says this obfuscation is really terrible. And it really is awful, because he's making it sound like the squad was between a rock and a hard place because they had the union bosses bearing down on them to do what? To do what? To put an amendment forward separate from the original bill that had no chance of passing? You really think the union bosses were bearing down on them for that? According to who? According to who? Ryan Grimm. Ryan Grimm cites Devin Mance as one of the people who told him that. Well, you know who interviewed Devin Mance before Ryan Grimm interviewed Devin Mance? We did. All right. And here's how this went. All right. We're going to play a clip of ourselves interviewing Devin Mance in just a second, but I just want to set this up because it's very important. They're acting like the squad had their hands tied because on one hand, we have the union bosses wanting us to push through this second bill, which means we have to push through the first bill. And then on the other hand, we have the union workers who are willing to go on strike. Now let's hear how this actually went down. We have more from this group here, but we're going to split this because let's hear what Devin Mance had to say to us about exactly what happened.
I started talking to some really great people out of Corey Bush's office and Jamal Bowman's office and Chuy Garcia's office, and so did our whole legislative department did. And their staffers are really the ones who got this going. And they like that night, they called me and said, hey, we're going to submit this. We're going to make a change. We're going to submit an amendment. And I was like, oh, cool. And a couple hours later, he calls me. He's like, did you hear the good news? Pelosi backed out.
Okay. Did you hear that? They called us and said, hey, great news. We're going to pass an amendment that guarantees you sick leave. We're going to pass it. Now, it might not pass the Senate because we need 60 in the Senate, but good news, we have a plan. We're going to pass something for you. We're doing our best for you. Great news, Devin.
You know, they basically like pushed her to say that or to come out with the amendment to it. So she was supporting it.
Notice the expression on mine and Russell's faces.
I know. I was just looking at that like we're both really perplexed. Like,
well, here we push back. Here we are. But ultimately, they pushed both bills through. They did what they did with the Build Back Better last year, which is they pushed both bills through to the Senate, and the Senate voted yes on the bad bill and no on the good bill.
Correct. Yep. And that's how the House had to do it procedurally, I guess. I don't know all the details with it.
No, that's not how they. I mean, no.
They did it that way so that it wouldn't pass.
They did it so they could tell you guys they tried their best for you. That's really why they did it that way. That really, I mean, sorry.
But
yeah, and that laugh is basically going as far as he can go because he's a working guy, to say, yeah, that is right. That is what they did. The Congress people, Bowman and Bush, their offices reached out to these unions and say, hey, we have a plan to try and get you sick leave, because they knew that they couldn't vote to break up a strike and keep whatever bona fides they had amongst their base. So they had to come up with this other play. They had to come up with this other thing. Hey, and they called them. That's the main takeaway.
Right.
That's the main takeaway. Right. They called them and said, this is our plan. So what these guys are saying here, which is that their hands were tied because union leadership was asking for this and they didn't know what to do. That's nonsense.
And even if they were, the rank and file union members and union leadership are notoriously out of sync. Hey, you know how the people you get to vote for president are controlled opposition? It's the same thing in union votes.
Absolutely. Well, that's the other point. The other point, and this is what Shama said as well. She said, I don't need to know what the union bosses want. He says, she's very, very, this is why she's such a good fighter, because she doesn't let people intellectualize things and conceptualize things. She keeps things very concrete. I know I'm a socialist. I don't vote to break up a strike, period. That's all I have to know. I don't have to know what this union boss said or what this union boss said or how many are on one side, how many on the other side. I know I'm a socialist. Socialists don't vote to break up strikes, period. If you have squad members who are in DSA, they cannot vote to break up a strike, period. Right. And they could have voted for one and not the other, or they could have voted no on both until they got guarantees from the Senate that the 7 paid sick days would pass. So, of course, their hands were not tied in this way. Their hands were not tied in this way at all. That's nonsense. And to the extent that they could have affected the outcome, they probably couldn't have affected the outcome, but that's all the more reason why they should have taken a vote.
You draw
against
attention by taking that vote.
Exactly.
If they had been doing what they were sent there to do, arguably the left, the actual left, would be in a very different power position right now. If from the day they had refused to vote for Pelosi, we'd be living in a different world, because the whole House would have to worry about pissing off this bloc before they try to do anything in the House. They wouldn't be able to pass anything without them. We'd be in a completely different situation if they had done that from day one. And honestly, if you look at how much they won by when they went for re-election before they sold out, you can't even make the argument that would have gotten them voted out. If anything, it probably would have increased their vote totals. There are people out there who are not drinking the CNN Kool-Aid, who will come out to vote if you give them a reason. They don't come out to vote when you give them soap flakes A and soap flakes B.
Exactly.
Because why should they? But if they had really done that, they wouldn't need CNN. They wouldn't need MSNBC. They could throw the ick on them all they want. They'd have their own voters who hate those people. You know what they'd have going for them? The Trump effect. They'd have that going for them, where the more these people hate you, the better you're going to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the other thing that I want to mention, and then we will play the rest of this, is that you only need to know one thing. And I'll split it up into 2 parts for the Surfs guy here, since he apparently has a lot of trouble absorbing information like this, since he watched the Shama versus Grimm debate and still thought that this was a good line of argument, right? You need to know 2 things, okay? You need to know, number one, some union members are willing to strike for the sick days. And then number 2, and this is really connected, this is why I say there are only really 1. Number 2, all of the unions who didn't want to strike, who would have taken the TA, they were all willing to join the picket line with the 4 unions who were willing to strike. So again, that's 2 facts in one. The number one fact is 12 unions were willing to strike for the sick days. That's called solidarity. Solidarity. I don't know if the leftist mafia understands that term, but that's called solidarity. Okay? And they had it. So all you need to know, if you're a squad member, is that unions are willing to strike for sick days, and you cannot, if you call yourself a progressive, even a progressive, much less a socialist, you cannot get in the way of that. Right. You cannot get in the way. That's all you need to know. It's that simple. It's not any more complicated than that.
You can't be on the wrong side of these things. When I went to Grand Central Terminal, you had the airline pilots there. You had people from the Amazon union there. You had representatives from the teachers union there. You had representatives from the CUNY unions there. That's how it works. And you are not holding up your end of the bargain. You are not doing for what you are doing. And you're going to see this more. We're already seeing this. When was the last time you saw a bunch of progressives get together to phone bank for somebody?
Right. Exactly.
I mean, we don't do it anymore because look what happened. We've got things to do, right? You got computers to pay for it.
Yeah, to pay for it. Speaking of that, so I'm going to edit around this when I do the segment, but we're getting so many super chats because of my busted computer. And thank you guys very, very much. I very much appreciate this. We're gonna pause and read some of these. 2017, Mike Figueredo. I will not vote for anyone who opposes Medicare for all. 2020, Mike Figueredo. I will vote for Joe Biden. Yes, that's true. I do remember him flip-flopping there, absolutely. And thank you, Cool Blue, for stepping up. Andrew, sorry about the laptop, Keaton. Here's a little bit to help. Well, thank you, Andrew. I appreciate that very, very much. In all seriousness, folks, it is a huge help. We had very high hopes for this year. We were really excited to run this thing like a tight ship this year, and both live streams have been completely sabotaged. So thank you guys for stepping up for us. Really appreciate that. Nancy K, $9. We need to discuss Epstein and his relationship with DC. Well, we probably will do some of that over on
Rumble. Right. We've never really done a serious show about that.
Yeah, well, we'll do.
Well, I mean, Sagar is all over that.
That's true. He does talk about it. Virtuoso Lance from InSync. Oh, you're talking about the Surfs guy? Yeah. I can see that. Absent the hair dye, right? All right. Is that everybody? Are we all accounted for?
We got a red one up there. Did you get that?
Axel, solidarity in dissent. Absolutely. And thank you, Axel. Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate that very much. All right, let's get back to
Is there that red one up there? Is that?
What's that? Oh, that's Collins. That's a super sticker.
That's a super sticker. Gotcha.
Yeah. But thank you, Colin. Appreciate that.
Winning in this
Can
situation,
you show his dad how to do that?
Yeah, I think that there is a real difference between doing what the union bosses want and doing what the union workers want. Because union bosses aren't infallible. Like, they're good. Like, listening to them isn't necessarily bad, but in this instance, it was very clear that a majority of the workers did not want this deal. So it
doesn't matter if the majority of the workers wanted the deal. What matters is all of the workers were willing to strike in solidarity with those who didn't want the deal. That's all.
Well, not only that,
that's all that matters.
That's not factual. That's not factual. It's the majority of the unions, but the unions that were against it are the majority of the workers.
Right, they're the biggest unions.
They're the biggest union. So that's factually wrong what he just said.
I forget his name. That's what Adam Schmidt told us in that interview. That actually, yes, the unions, the nays won the sort of electoral college, if you will, but popular vote wise, there were actually more workers who wanted to strike than not. Once again, that doesn't even matter. That doesn't even matter. This is the kind of obfuscation that Shama was so angry about. All that matters is everyone was willing to strike in solidarity with those who wanted the sick days. That's all that matters.
Yeah,
that's all that matters. The math doesn't matter.
Yeah, but also if you're going to come and do this, super group from hell, you better cross all your T's and dot all your I's. You better know what you're talking about. They don't even know what they're talking about on the facts.
I mean, I think Jesus is very upset about this leftist mafia because, now that this exists, people are going to be much less afraid of hell because they're like, well, if I could endure this, hell can't be that bad.
They might be afraid that in hell they lock you in a room with this for all eternity.
Exactly. Well,
that's the 10th ring Dante didn't write about.
I mean, this is really a group. And again, I don't include Ole in this because she's more of a reporter. I don't know. She's hanging out with the wrong crowd. But Dole, Figueredo,
She's trying to,
and Binder.
Man, look at her. She doesn't even want to be there. Look at her.
Man, that is rough.
She's like, what did I get myself into? I wanted to promote my channel.
Yeah.
Gotta
maybe
listen to these dopey white motherfuckers.
Maybe we'll start a mafia of our own, and we'll see if she wants to switch sides. We got to arrange that.
Up.
I don't know if the boss over there will be happy, but we'll see. All right, let's keep going.
Join us, and we will rule the galaxy together.
Exactly.
Did not want this deal. So if I were in Congress, I would have rejected it because, again, as you said, Lance, like the whole thing was DOA. Like we all knew that this was going to fail anyway. So to just cast that vote in solidarity with workers, I think that would have been a really good symbolic victory. That being said, though, I think that it's not necessarily like a cancelable offense of the squad.
No,
I think that
no, it's not cancelable. It's not like they dead named the trans woman. That
that would be, they'd be all over that. That wouldn't even be all over that. They wouldn't even be debating whether they should be well, maybe there would be the whole you got to do a struggle session of contrition,
right?
And maybe they can earn their way back.
Right. Did you see her Instagram live video where she apologized for dead naming the trans woman? What'd you think? Was that good enough or not good enough? I thought it was that. Okay,
I think she needs to do more.
Yeah,
I think she needs to do more.
I think she needs to listen more. Going on air and apologizing, that's not right. You need to listen more. Right. That's
she
what
needs
the
to
socialists
talk about
are
what
really
policies she's going to put forward.
Yeah.
To correct for her behavior here.
Yeah. Exactly.
And okay, she's funnier and funnier because I wasn't really paying attention to her. Oliemi, she's like, she knows what's up. Look at her. Doing a show like this, I can tell you never do this.
Yeah, that's not a great posture. Yeah, we've never done that in our history. We've done 8-hour live streams where we've felt pretty tired. We've never done.
Yeah. That is saying I'm not interested. I'm not into it. I don't agree with it. I'm done. When is this going to be over? You just don't sit like that on the air.
What could be more cancelable? What could be more cancelable for a democratic socialist than to vote to break up a union strike? Like, if that's not cancelable, what is? Shama Sawant wrote it in a little op-ed that preceded her appearance on the show with Ryan Grimm, saying they should be expelled from DSA.
Of course
Absolutely
they should.
Of
course
Absolutely
they should. You got socialism right in the name.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
What do you like, the Scientologists? They never kick out the unscientific people in their membership.
Right. I mean, it's not even close.
The problem is that the squad just isn't very politically savvy, and Democratic Party leadership usually runs roughshod over them.
Well, they seem pretty politically savvy because they keep you idiots on board. Right. I mean, if you guys aren't crossing them, then there must be kind of politically savvy. Right. And
that's really the core issue. They need to get more savvy and strategic. But, again, like it was lose all around because it was going to die. It's just a shitty situation.
Okay, this moron, they need to be more savvy and strategic, but it was lose all around. Those are not even logically compatible statements because you're right. It was lose in the sense that the strike was going to be broken up anyway. But if the strike was going to be broken up anyway, it means there was nothing savvy or unsavvy about it. It's simply a vote of principle. It's simply a vote about knowing where you stand with your movement, right? There's no savvy decision there because the outcome is already in the bank, right? There are enough Democrats and Republicans willing to break up the strike. So therefore, this whole thing about savviness and strategy, that's another buzzword. Push is one word, right? When they say, oh, politicians are going to push for something, that's how you know you're being fucking scammed. And strategy is now the other thing.
That's right up there where they're going to study the issue.
Yeah, right. There was no strategy because the outcome was already predetermined. The only question is, where do you stand in relationship to the movement that put you in office? And they chose. And here these guys are, 5 minutes talking in circles, tying themselves in knots to to let them off the hook for it.
But this is what I don't understand about that, because I think probably most of the people listening, and certainly ourselves, I not the rest of them, but David Dole and Mike Figueredo, certainly back during the Bernie days. I listened to both of them. And so much of that movement was a rejection of these kinds of rationalizations, of this kind of politics.
Yes,
it was
excellent point.
It was we had all been red pilled,
right,
in the true sense, and our minds were open to the realization that everything we had been taught about politics was a lie. We were all on the same page, that we had been hoodwinked into this idea of the politics of politeness, the politics. We realized we were shitlibs. Our eyes were opened. We realized that we'd been brainwashed into a politics that only served elites. We were all on the same page about it.
right.
So how did they get here? Because they're right back to being shitlibs with hipper representatives.
Right.
They've got cooler people that they bow their heads to. Right.
Well, look, this is what some people got upset when, we took issue with Jordan Sheridan's piece. And I don't lump Jordan Sheridan in with these guys. Jordan Sheridan actually reached out during the premiere of that episode.
Right.
And he was
We're gonna have him
nice.
on.
We exchanged DMs
Yeah.
back and forth, and hopefully when he's back from leave, he will come on and talk about it. Right. I know a lot of the audience here has a hard on for him. I don't, although I do disagree with him on this. And one of the things that I sort of take issue with is this word strategy, as if there is an actual strategy, as if there are wheels in motion towards achieving these big goals, when there so clearly are not. And if you are these guys, you are all in on the idea that we have momentum, that we actually have a real movement, right? That there is progress being made towards things like universal health care and a Green New Deal, right? And there isn't. And to me, the sort of more thematic critique of guys like this, and even guys like Jordan, and like I said, I don't lump Jordan in with these guys in the same way, right, is they are all in on the idea that there's a train moving forward and that we just have to stay on and push through.
Right.
And I'm sorry, I tune into independent media to be told the truth, not to be gaslit.
Right.
And so, this kind of stuff, this is just more blue pill nonsense, to keep with that metaphor, since I think it's a good one, right? Why would you come here to be told some bullshit rah story about, the squad, they're trying, they got to be more strategic. More strategic? You got a few of these people are card-carrying DSA members who just voted to break up a strike. How you could be saying anything other than shame on them, they need to be kicked out of that organization. It's not even close. It's
very strange. I don't understand what they're getting out of it, because they both built very solid audiences on outsider politics. So is it that they got cozy with people? Because I haven't seen either one of them land a lot of great guests like Nina or anything. Like, I haven't seen them be given a reason to compromise themselves like this. As far as I know, they don't have Katzenberg money.
I don't understand the audience for this. This is MSNBC
that
with
I don't
shittier
get.
lighting.
That
I mean, that's all.
Right.
It is.
Right. Like, why would you watch that? Well, it's the same question with TYT.
Right. Well, they have good lighting.
They have good lighting, but I don't. They're very. Cenk is coming out of MSNBC. He's a pro.
Right. Yeah.
They're like us schmucks who started in their garage.
Right.
But I don't know what happened to them. I used to watch both of them quite a lot. They were never the most entertaining of the commentators in the days of the Bernie movement, but they had their moments. I got tired of Figueredo first, and eventually I got tired of Dole. But now when I tune into Dole, I just don't even recognize him. I don't know what the hell he's doing. He's just carrying water for the establishment these days.
Yeah, and this is really quite the embarrassing side project here, the Leftist Mafia.
Wow.
Who is afraid of these people? This is the
what leftists? I don't see any leftists except for the one with her hands behind her head over there.
The one who wants to turn the Zoom screen off.
And since we're talking about this, I just want to add that Biden does have the authority to sign an executive order where he guarantees sick leave by simply saying we're not going to contract with any company that doesn't offer at least 7 paid sick days. Obama did this before. Biden didn't do that. And then, I mean, these rail companies, they have federal contracts. That's how you effectively do it like that. But he's not doing it. And the real test comes from the pressure. Like, can we exert enough pressure? Can the squad exert enough pressure on Biden to get him to do that? And that is where I think that anyone who's disappointed, that's where you kind of encourage them to move pressure towards Biden. I know that there's a lot of labor activity that is moving towards that currently, but that really is where the pressure needs to be, because that's how you accomplish this now. Yes, he failed the workers.
Well, this whole thing went down about a month ago, so you think that pressure might be a good time.
Well, they didn't do that. That's the whole point, Mike. It's all of a piece. They didn't. The same people who did not choose to take that vote then are certainly not going to pressure Biden about anything. They're as useless as an asshole right here. They're not going to do any of that.
Because Biden made it clear that his first priority was to stop a strike, not to get the workers the sick leave, but was to stop the strike. And by splitting up the bills and doing exactly what they did in the Build Back Better fight, which is pass both through after promising not to pass either unless they could guarantee that both would pass. They did the exact same thing here, where they passed the shit bill alongside the good bill, knowing full well that the good bill would fail. Here's how certain it was that the good bill would fail. This is going back to the serfs, what he was saying there about how, the union bosses were pushing for this. They knew, they had such certainty that sick leave amendment would fail, that 3 Democrats, Warnock, Cory Booker, Dick Durbin, 3 Democrats sat the vote out entirely. They didn't even bother to show up voting for it. If there were any chance that would pass, don't you think that all the Democrats would have showed up? Hey, we need to get to 60. They had a handful of GOPers on board. So if they thought it was close, if they thought there was a shot, of course they'd have all showed up to vote. But you had 3 Democrats abstain. That's how sure they were that it wasn't going to pass anyway. So how can you say that, how can you even say we tried? It wasn't even a Hail Mary. A Hail Mary means you put everything on the field. That's how Ryan Grimm said. He said, well, they thought of this as a Hail Mary. A Hail Mary means you throw the ball as far as you can down the field, which means you get all your team together to vote. It wasn't even that. It wasn't even that. It's just nonsense. All right, let's let them finish real quick.
It's a little bit ambiguous as to whether or not what they did was correct. I wouldn't have voted in the way that they did, but if they can get Biden to sign that executive order, it's a win overall. It doesn't matter.
Yep. I agree.
And where are they on that?
I think there's a weird section of the internet that's obsessed with the fact that AOC hasn't unlocked communism yet.
There's a weird faction of the internet that's obsessed with socialists not breaking up labor strikes. This annoying faction of the internet.
Those people on the internet. This is, as I've written about extensively, if anyone wants to go back into the article archives, I was a major corporate media addict. I would watch all those Sunday morning roundtables. I would watch Meet the Press, This Week, McLaughlin Group. I was particularly fond of McLaughlin Group. This is like a throwback to that, because after a while, what I realized was a show like the McLaughlin Group is really what you would have if they had Sunday morning roundtables under Louis XIV, where you just have a bunch of courtiers talking about court gossip. That's what this has turned into. Issue 1, the railroad strike. Are the squad sellouts, or did they have a strategy? Mr. Pat Buchanan. That's it. That's what this has turned into, man. It's the McLaughlin Group, just not as entertaining, with a bunch of dorks. It's a bunch of dorks and one very disinterested African American woman doing politics
and doing her hair while Mike Figueredo talks about how it's ambiguous whether or not they did the right thing.
Yes.
All right. We got one more segment on the evening here. I do want to plug our Patreon scroll here. Thank you to our patrons. Please hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. Russell, do you have your phone handy? Do you know how we're doing on subscriptions this episode? Again, my phone's lost. I have a lot of work to do, a lot of triage to do on this technical equipment once this is done, and I got to find my phone.
Pathetic. I say we end the show right now. We've had one person subscribe on this.
Come on, let's hit
show.
that subscribe button, folks.
Yeah, I did my John McLaughlin, man, and we got one sub out of that.
All right, here's what happened. All right, I'm gonna pull at your heartstrings because you leave me no.
I mean, we've got quite a few super chats though.
Yeah,
so it's kind of like.
Well, because look, you have to realize we're addressing two groups of people, right? The super chats are coming from people who have already subscribed, so we can't ask them to subscribe
That's
again.
true.
You know what I mean?
True,
so the subscribers, our base
vote
is
once,
really
vote often.
Yes, it's really you guys are really coming through for us. Our base of supporters is really showing up. Cool Blue is really showing up, really making it rain. Thank you. I would have preferred to watch The View. Yeah, exactly. yeah, that was hard to even hate watch. I gotta say. But yeah, so here's what happened. All right. So my kid snuck into the kitchen in his dinosaur costume and knocked my laptop off of the kitchen counter while I was editing a segment for tomorrow's show. So by the way, we're starting a new segment on this show. It's called the Dissident Film Club. It's going to be episodes about politically and socially relevant cinema, past and present. So tomorrow we're debuting that segment with a talk that I had with friend of the show, Anis Shivani, about The White Lotus. And we thought the episode came out really great. We thought it was fun. And so we released that to patrons a few weeks ago, and now we're unlocking it for everybody. I went to edit the episode a little bit while I was making dinner. Had to multitask, right? And my kid came and he knocked the laptop off of the computer. That was around 5:30. We had the show scheduled for 8 o'clock. I knew I had to get some substitute equipment in here in order to be able to do the show at all. So I had to drive to Poughkeepsie, which is about 20 miles from my house, go to the mall there, get some stuff, come back here and hook it up. So that's what I did to get this show off the ground this evening for you guys, because we did not want to cancel on you guys. So if you are here for the first time, hit that subscribe button, please. And thank you guys very much for the generous super chats. That is very inspiring in all seriousness. All right. All right. We got one more segment, right?
Yep.
All right, everybody.
You can do it, man.
Doing a little stretch here. A little stretch. I don't even have a chair. Just so everybody knows.
I know.
I don't have a chair. I am going to take an Epsom salt bath when this is done.
I'm going to give some advice. If anyone enjoys cycling as much as I do, shift gears. Because I destroyed my knees being a marathon cyclist who just keeps it on the hard gear and just muscles through it. So what you're doing right now would be completely impossible for me.
Right.
Yeah, I fucked up my knees and my hips that way.
I heard cycling is hard on the pelvic floor too because it's numbing. You have all that weight on it.
I've heard that. I mean, that's not. I knew somebody who actually was having a little problem with the Twinkie who attributed it to that.
Yeah, cyclists can get that.
Yeah, it's
not you.
Thus far, knock on wood. But the hips and the knees, yeah, man. And I think, because when I was in Canada, when I was in Buffalo, I rented like a bike with technology that I didn't know existed at this point. I have an old school racing bike. Like now they have bikes where you just shift with your thumbs. Like you just press a button and it shifts. So I rode to Canada that way. And you know what? Really didn't bother my knees because I actually downshifted like a normal person.
Oh, there you go. That's good.
So yes, but I mean, damage done. Like my knees are definitely not what they should be now.
Yeah, that's what they see. Bad Seed said biking makes you sterile. I've heard that.
I have. Well, the last thing I need is to knock anybody else up.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably for the best that Russell remains sterile because we can't afford to replace 2 laptops. You know what I mean? We can only afford 1 laptop replacement at a time. So we got to,
Yeah, now I don't even have a cat, so the laptop is safe.
Laptop is safe. Oh boy, Chris, I loved your real-time take that Gates was doing exactly what AOC was supposed to do to Pelosi. Thank you. I was screaming the same thing. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. I haven't seen you here before. If you are new here, please hit that subscribe button. That's what you can do for us this evening. Lloyd coming through with the super chat. Thank you guys very much. Are you guys going to the DC Rage Against the War Machine? That's in February, right? Russell will be in India. I might go to that. That's the People's Party are putting that on with the Libertarian Party. It's going to be like a cross-partisan anti-war demonstration. That might be something. Tell you though,
that's how we have to do it, man. We have to work across ideological lines on things that we agree with. It's the only way forward.
Exactly.
What these guys are talking about, it's nonsense.
Nonsense.
It's nonsense. You're not getting anywhere with that.
Right.
You got to figure out where the Venn diagram overlaps with Rand Paul, and that's where you can get some movement.
Right. Exactly. Well said. All right. I think my stretch break is over.
All right.
Well, we picked on a lot of left-wingers or supposed left-wingers this evening. Now we're going to go back to the old days, take a trip back in time, everybody, to an era where we hated Fox News, right? It seemed those were simpler times, right? When we made fun of Fox News and all the bullshit on Fox News. Those were back in the blue-pilled bliss, right?
Well, this segment we can use to try to get in on some of that Hillary PAC money.
Yeah, that's true.
We don't do a lot of segments that could get us that money.
No, that's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. Zach, before we start, I second Lloyd. Get to D.C. Yeah, if you guys want me to go to D.C., I might go to D.C. for that. That could be fun. That could be good. Cover that. I'll get my camera. I have a video camera. We were supposed to buy a video camera. We didn't. It's a good thing.
We'd be buying another one now.
Yeah, right,
no,
exactly.
but I was getting the video camera because I'm the one.
He's the one that's going to do it. No, I have a couple of friends who have good cameras. I'm sure they would lend me them. We're going to start the segment, but honestly, if you guys keep giving us money, we're just going to hang out here and do this because we need it.
That's it. Yeah.
we need it badly. We need it badly. I'm gonna have to get, because you need, in order to make this software work, you need a good laptop. I tried doing it on my wife's laptop, which was my old laptop, and that's why we were late coming on, because the videos wouldn't play right on them. It just didn't have the processing power. So there's another laptop that I can get, but it's $1,600 fucking dollars.
Damn it! Damn inflation.
No, it's actually a good deal. It's a $2,100 computer that was on sale, $500 off. That's why I eyeballed it, and I still have it. I actually did buy it, but I kept it in the packaging because I'm hoping I can return it if I get this screen fixed. But if this screen is $700 to fix, I'm not going to do that, because this is an 8-year-old machine. Now it's 9 years old. It's a 2014 model. I'm not going to pay $700 to fix a 9-year-old computer. Sure. For another $700, you get a new one. That's
my computer. Honestly, I'm very impressed and surprised with how this worked out. I got a gaming computer, not because I'm a gamer, but because I knew I would do video editing. I wanted something that could handle that kind of processing power. I got it's called a Predator Helios 300.
Mm-hmm.
This thing has lasted me for years without a glitch.
How much was it?
No problems. I think it was about 15, 16.
Okay, so that's about that's about what I paid for the one that's still in the packaging. So either way, you get the point, folks. We're starting this year in the hole. Starting this year in the red. Got to claw our way out. But thank you guys for helping us. Chris, I was so thirsty to hear someone make that point, and because you went live then, you were the first I heard. New watcher subscribed about a month ago. Well, thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. And yeah, we went on immediately. We knew we had to. Russell had a doctor's appointment at 5:15, so we signed on at 4 and got our digs in because we knew we had to go live so that we were the first. Alrighty, so let's do this. So, where's my notes? Goddamn fucking shit. Fucking thing sucks. All right. Mark Tepper, the CEO of Strategic Wealth Partners, appeared on the Fox Business Network to complain about the tightness of the labor market and that employees had too much power over employers and how that was really not healthy for capitalism. Let's take a listen.
We have an overheated labor market right now, and it's because of what the Fed did, but also, fiscal stimulus disincentivizing people from going back to work. And right now we're in this situation where employees have more leverage over employers.
Hold on, I'm going to start this over again. Fiscal stimulus discouraging people from going back to work. He's talking about, $1,200 and $1,400 handed out now, a year and a half ago? Like, working people who live paycheck to paycheck don't still have that money. Like, that doesn't last that long.
That in Iowa, I think that feeds a family of 5 for a year.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. All right, let's start this over.
So we have an overheated labor market right now, and it's because of what the Fed did, but also, fiscal stimulus disincentivizing people from going back to work. And right now we're in this situation where employees have more leverage over employers than they ever have. And it's kind of counterproductive to capitalism. And I think over the course of the next several months, several quarters, the Fed is going to be forced to have to reset the labor market. They're going to have to reset equilibrium. Just a quick story. Took my kids skiing to the local ski resort in Cleveland over the weekend. They're trying to, at the ski resort, they're trying to hire high school kids to work concession stands for $20 an hour. And they can't get high school kids to take that job. I think I was working for $5 an hour in high school. Now, that was a long time ago.
So it's not just the wages, but it's also saying, I want to work from home. Yeah. I don't want to come in 2 days a week. I want this. I want that.
I want this. I want that. Yes, that's called the market. Right? Mm-hmm. That's called a market, where people have wants that they need fulfilled, and the market, according to capitalism, is supposed to be able to fulfill those wants in a way that lifts all boats, right? Sounds like what this guy is asking for is government regulation of the market. The Fed's going to have to do something and step in, because under capitalism, employees aren't supposed to have this leverage over employers. That says it all right there. That says it all right there. Under capitalism, employers are supposed to have the power over the employees, not the other way around, and it's not supposed to be even. The kids at the concession want $20 an hour. Can you believe that? All this hand-wringing about what people want. The market is supposed to be the invisible hand that governs all that. It's supposed to be neither here nor there. Oh, can you believe they want that? Want, not want. These are not supposed to be operative concepts in a healthy, functioning market. The market factors into account everyone's wants and everyone's needs. And the market is supposed to govern that by itself. That's the supposed genius of it. Until the employees get too much power. And then they want regulation.
Yeah, actually, all right. So as our resident market expert, I want to give the big picture on this to show how perverse it really is. These corporations are not hurting, really. I mean, their earnings reports have been coming in just fine. It's the stockholders that are hurting. That's what this is all about. Because, yes, they can accommodate these wage demands without raising prices, because their profit margins in most corporations, most industries, their profit margins are high enough from decades of poor wages and stagnant wages. They have a lot of wiggle room to not raise prices while raising wages. But that money's going to have to come out of executive salaries. That money's going to have to come out of perks. That money's going to have to come out of basically their comforts. And ultimately, it might pull back the stock prices some. So what are they going to do? Impact the small percentage of the population that holds stocks? I think it's, something like 1% hold most of the assets, most of the financial assets. I can't remember the exact numbers. If anybody knows the exact number on that, there is a number for this. Like, there's a very small percentage that holds like 80% of the financial assets. It might not be 1%, it might be like 10%. No, they're going to break the workers. They're going to create a recession so that jobs are scarce and workers are willing to settle for less. Whatever they tell you, it does not have to be done this way. It is being done this way because doing it the other way would mean going after the people who actually run this country. And they're never going to do that.
Right. Right. Exactly. The reset, right, the status quo that these people are used to is being able to pay the people at the concession stand at the Cleveland ski resort, which, by the way, Cleveland known around the world for its luxurious
ski resort. I mean, that was the only part of that was any good. I mean, at least he's not like, well, I took the kids to Taos and I mean, it basically had the effect of that, but at least it was Cleveland.
Yeah. It's like there is a casino that just opened up in the town of Newburgh here. It's like saying, I took the kids to, I took the wife to the casino, not to Vegas. No, the casino here in Newburgh. Yeah, I took them skiing in Cleveland. And the kids, they couldn't find kids to work the concessions for less than $20 an hour. The thing behind, I mean, we've talked about this in the past, but, the market factors into account where people are and where they want to go. And I think the driving force behind the Great Resignation is that people got a realistic sense of where they could go. And so they stopped striving to get beyond that, right? There's only so many hours of so many weeks, of so many months, of so many years that people can continue to toil at these dog shit jobs, making shit money, thinking, well, if I put in another year, I'll get a raise and then I'll get to buy the house. Once you realize, once the clock stops and everybody is locked down and they're forced to sit in a room and think about their lives up to this point, they realize, well, all those years of toiling that way, I never got the raise that allowed me to buy the house, so maybe I never will. So maybe I'll just stop trying. Maybe I'll work for what I can get and I'll just rent forever and that's it. I'll never have much savings. I'll just live hand to mouth and that's it. And that's what a lot of people thought, because that's really the only life that is actually available to so many people.
That's it. The incentives of capitalism are no longer there. I've told this story before. We have a lot of new listeners. Okay. So after college, I went to Chicago for a while. I come back from Chicago. I had, 2 nickels to rub together. I went out. I drove a horse and carriage. I wanted to have my own theater. Within 18 months of returning from Chicago, penniless, I had my first theater on 4th Street in Manhattan. You know what I started that theater with? $5,000, because my rent was $1,200 a month on that space.
Yep.
And that's, yes, theater is a specific business, but you know what? That applies to any business. If you wanted to open a restaurant back then, if you wanted to open a bodega, if you wanted to open anything, it's the opportunities were there. So there was an incentive to work hard. There was an incentive for me when I was driving the carriage. I'd be the last guy back to the stable because I was working for something that was attainable, that I wanted. I had a reason to stay out until sunrise.
Exactly right.
Every night. Now, why would you do it? For what? You can't start your business. You can't buy a house. Why would you bother? Right? I mean, if I were in that position, I would do the bare minimum too.
Of course. Because I mean, I think you put it very, very well there. All right, is that everything we have?
I think so. I think you're poor knees, man. If we have any last super chats, just we do. Yeah, well, we have horse. I'm responding to somebody.
Go ahead, put it on the screen.
All right, horse and carriage. What century were you born in, Russell? You know what was really funny about that job? Is the Central Park Horse and Carriage is the world famous Johnny Ringo. Johnny Ringo. Oh, right. That's the adaptation of the Heinlein thing with the bugs. Somebody help me out.
You talk about Starship Troopers?
Yes, that's what Johnny Ringo is from. That's the lead character in Starship Troopers.
Oh, okay.
So it was really funny. You say, what century were you born in? The immigrant distribution was like a throwback to late 19th, early 20th century New York. The Italians worked on 7th Avenue, the Irish worked on 6th Avenue, and then the Jews were kind of scattered in. It was like you were transported back to the Ellis Island immigrant groups back when I was doing it. It's a little different now.
Yeah. All right, let's hide that one. All right. Anybody else? Any other questions?
Yeah, so we had a couple super chats back there.
Yeah, let's find some. I'm willing to hang out tonight. We're so in need of super chats that I might just not end the stream at all. We might just go to sleep and just leave the stream on all night. Empty home. It'll be like the Paranormal Activity movie. You'll just watch my empty living room and see if anything moves in the night. Where is it?
Oh yeah, no, I was wrong. It's not Johnny Ringo, but Johnny Ringo's from. Yeah, it's Johnny Rico and Starship Troopers. Johnny Ringo, isn't that from something though? I could swear that's from something.
Google it. We got time to kill while we're waiting for more money to come in.
Okay, all right. So look, this
Hope
actually
the super chat goes to a new bookshelf. Well,
okay, this actually gives me an entree to tell you what's going on
Virtuoso.
with my building. Now, those of you who are longtime viewers know that I have this situation where my landlord's mentally ill son has been torturing the tenants for years, and he has the entire first floor. He has both apartments. Okay, so that landlord just sold the building, and I'm helping them to get him evicted. Now, it's a pretty crazy situation. But I wasn't sure if I was going to keep the apartment. So that was part of why I didn't want to spend the money to ever get that middle brace that would fix this. But now I think I'll get the middle brace. So although I'm not sure if I should, because it seems to be a fan favorite, the Boeing bookshelves. I'm not sure. Do people actually want me to fix this, or is it just more fun to leave it that way?
I think it's a trademark. I think now
it's a trade. Now I can't fix it, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, you can't fix it, and you can't leave the apartment either. You can't move. You have to bring it to India with you, so you can set it up in the background. It's such a staple of the show.
Johnny Ringo was Doc Holliday's nemesis. I knew I heard this somewhere.
Oh, okay, interesting. Great chat and show. Appreciate your suffering, Keaton. You guys are the best. Thank you. Thank you. That's my goal in life, is for people to appreciate my suffering. As many people can appreciate my suffering.
That's your Jewish. That's your Jewish half coming out.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah.
I
have the gallows humor tonight. Absolutely.
Thank you, Julie. One day I will tell the story about when I ran away with the circus in Europe. I've never told that story on the air, but it's a pretty good one.
No, you did not tell that one. Yeah, want to keep that one in your back pocket.
I'm gonna keep that one up my sleeve.
Up your sleeve. Extra Bull, a good show. No cash, but plenty of love. Plenty of love to you, my friend. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. Thank you for staying up late with us. Thank you for bearing with us. We appreciate it.
The bookshelf is a metaphor for our government. See, if I fix it, I'm going to be giving people false hope.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. All right. Is that everything?
I think so.
I think so. All right. I got some triage to do on the equipment here. Make sure we'll have that premiere for you tomorrow. But yeah, definitely here. I'm going to put the patron scroll back up so we can thank our patrons once again. We do have big plans for this year, if we can ever implement them, if there's ever a day where things don't go catastrophically wrong.
This is the year we are going to be doing song parodies. I'm going to be doing sketches. We have a lot of concepts for this year.
Yeah, we were supposed to be live on Rockfin tonight for the first time ever, but that ended up not happening because I didn't have time to rearrange the timing. I had to run out to get new stuff. Yeah. So we're going to be on Rockfin. So find us on Rockfin. We're on Odyssey now. We have an Odyssey channel. It is important to get these backup channels going in case we ever get shut down by the YouTube gods. We have some more Twitter file stuff that we're going to be putting out soon. Although Matt Taibbi really fucked up his last two drops because he put out a drop on Christmas Eve, which nobody's going to pay attention on Christmas Eve. And then he put out two more drops as the McCarthy speaker vote was breaking.
I know.
Like, what?
I don't really understand that. Why? Like, he's a pretty savvy guy. I don't get it.
Yeah, why would you do that when, like, it was literally as that news was breaking, he starts dropping it?
Yeah, I mean, that maybe he didn't know, although he's pretty tuned in. I don't know how he could not have known. And then Christmas Eve, that's just, there's no explanation for that.
Yeah, that's very odd. That's very odd. And it's not like there's time pressure now because they have the stuff. It's not like it's going anywhere, you know. Keaton's being a martyr for the cause of due dissidents. Yeah, indeed. Indeed. I went a little crazy tonight, but I felt like we had to get the show out, and so we did. And it turns out, I didn't end up using any of the equipment that I went out and got because what technical fix I thought I had wasn't a fix at all because my wife's computer was too slow to handle the StreamYard functionality. How do I get this on the screen?
I am going to a city that has like a classic, famous Bollywood movie theater, and I am definitely going to see a Bollywood movie there. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, you got to. That's an experience.
And I would also recommend, if you like Bollywood, and even if you don't, I would recommend RRR on Netflix. It's actually very, very entertaining.
Okay. Interesting. Maybe that'll be something for the film club. Something interesting.
You know what? I would like to cover that for the film club because, okay, it's set under the British Raj. And every British person is a caricature of evil. But you know what? It's fine. I think there's just something about it when a bunch of like liberal arts Hollywood people write these screenplays that make them just cringy and obnoxious. But when it's produced by the people who were actually occupied by these people, it's like, all right. I mean, like it just doesn't read the same way. It was like, yes, the British are ridiculous caricatures. It's fine. It's fine. You know what? If you've been occupied by a people personally, you go.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
You go. Yeah, you have a right.
All right. I want to read a couple more of these chats here. Who I just saw one here. Seriously, thank you both for powering through tonight. Well, seriously, thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you guys for the generous donations. We mean that very seriously. We don't like to. We are not serious often on this show, but we are serious in saying thank you guys for staying up with us, and thank you guys for the donations. They seriously are very, very helpful. Hey, kids, gather around the tree and open the Twitter files, said no one ever. Yeah, Christmas Eve. Bad time to drop that, indeed. This is actually a very good suggestion because the fact that we were on late tonight figuring the tech
Keaton
out.
did that. That's why his kid broke the computer.
Was it?
He was afraid that was going to happen again.
Sure, right, exactly. For your next show, give it a 10-minute countdown so people can gather. Yeah, I think that probably is a good idea. There are a lot of shows who just put up a still image with some music on, and they let it go for like 20 minutes before.
I noticed that because I was watching the Greenwald.
Because
thing.
it helps because people tune in when they say it's live. They don't.
Yeah,
tune
actually,
in
we went late. Like more people were in.
Yeah, we had 50 people in at the very start.
Yeah.
We usually have 20 when we start, and then by like 10 minutes in, we're at like almost 100. But yeah, we actually had a lot. So maybe we'll do that. Maybe this
Makes
was a learning
sense.
experience. The only thing that we're going to have to do is because our technology is not as sophisticated. So if once we have that up, our mic's already mute. So Russell, you're just going to have your phone handy so that I can text you. Okay, we're on.
Look, you want to see like unrestrained, crazy, surreal joy just on YouTube because everyone's asking about this movie. Go on YouTube and look up Nacho, I think is the name of it, from RRR. That is one of my favorite dance numbers ever in a movie. But they don't have a lot of that's the only dance number that's dropped in the middle of the movie. They have one at the end over the credits that's also fun. But that's the only one that's dropped. I know some people love those dance numbers, some people hate them. I love them personally, those Bollywood dance numbers. But it's just inventive. It's fun. Like a lot of people.
It's a fairly common fixture of Bollywood, right? To have like musical numbers, even if
it's very much like the old Hollywood movies. It didn't matter what the genre was. You had a musical number in it.
Right.
That's how it is with Bollywood. Some of them have more of it. If it's like a romantic comedy, they're going to have more of that. This was really an action movie. That's why there's only one.
Okay.
But it was good. It was good. I mean, a lot of people who their channels are very much about criticizing modern Hollywood have been praising this movie as an example of what Hollywood can't do anymore. An entertaining action movie with themes and morals and character arcs. Where the action we're gonna do Maverick. I would say Maverick demonstrates that. Like, oh, the character has a conflict that gets resolved through the action of the film. You know, a fucking screenplay.
Right. Storytelling.
What a concept.
Yeah, tune in tomorrow night at 9 p.m. We're going to be premiering our first public episode of the Dissident Film Club. It was a recording that Anish Shivani and I did about the White Lotus. That'll be here at 9 p.m. We will not be live for that. That'll be a premiere that's already in the can. And so that'll be up tomorrow. Dissident Film Clubs will be every Friday night at 9 p.m. We're thinking of moving the Thursday streams to evenings permanently. They seem to do better. So I hope everybody's on board with that. But yeah, Zach says he likes the countdowns. All right, so we're going to have a countdown, right?
All right, yeah,
we're going to have a countdown next time. We'll start at 7:10, right?
All right.
We'll get the countdown going, give everybody a chance to file in. I just always am afraid that people are going to... It should be a countdown, right? It should let people know, okay,
yeah, you do, yeah.
Right, you don't just leave a fucking screen up there
no,
because that annoys people.
No, you do a countdown.
Yeah, countdown. All right, we're doing a countdown. Beautiful. It's done. All right, everybody. Thank you guys very much. We pulled things together.
All right, Holly. I'm a big fan of offbeat. They used to make a lot of cult movies that were musicals. All right, check out Phantom of the Paradise. It's a cult movie. It was actually Brian De Palma's first movie, believe it or not. I love it. And check out Shock Treatment, the sequel to the Rocky Horror Picture Show. You don't have to be a fan of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's actually much better as a much better movie. And in a lot of ways, if you go back and watch it now, it's one of those movies that's very prophetic. It really predicts a society where people are constantly plugged in to the collective media.
All right, excellent. All right, everybody. Well, we've said a bunch of false goodbyes. I guess we'll say our real goodbye. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you for bearing with us. Thank you. We hope we pulled this together good enough for you guys. And thank you very much, seriously, for the super chats. Very, very helpful, especially helpful this evening. Thank you guys very much. We will see you back here on Sunday live, but we will be here tomorrow. I'll be hanging out in the chat while we premiere our Dissident Film Club with a discussion of The White Lotus. And if you haven't watched The White Lotus, binge it. Binge it because there are spoilers in tomorrow's talk. But I think you guys will enjoy that very much. Just looking for our outro music. All right. Found it. Thank you guys very much. This was a fun one. Well, I guess that's a lie. It wasn't exactly a fun one.
Not for you.
It was fun in its own way.
It was
fun in its own way.
I thought this was a fun show.
This was a character building show.
I was looking for the name. Somebody brought up Peter Jackson's early movies. All right, yeah, he did a movie called Meet the Feebles that was a really twisted Muppets satire. Yes, that I would recommend it. Meet the Feebles, definitely, if you've never seen that.
Jewish goodbye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I got the engine running.
The car. Yeah, I was just gonna say the car's warming up.
It's drafty in the hallway here.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Chris is asking me for the Mormon tweets. All right, fine, I'll do it because you asked, because you were very kind with your donation. I'll show you my Mormon tweet. The Mormon tweet didn't do that well, but I'll show it anyway. Where is it? I don't even know. I'm looking through all my replies. I don't know. Apparently, I started some arguments and people started replying to my tweets, and so now I can't find it. But I think it was something like, AOC tweeted, if we took a shot for every failed speaker vote, we'd be on the floor right now. And I tweeted out, if I took a shot every time you delivered on your promises, I'd be a Mormon. That was the punchline. I'm glad you enjoyed that, Chris. I tried to find it for you. I couldn't. Apparently, see, I don't really like to argue on social media. I just like to insult people and then let people argue. Apparently, there's a bunch of replies on some of my tweets, and so my notifications are just endless now, so I can't find it. But, I'm happy you liked it, and thank you for the donation. All right, everybody. Yeah, we're burning gas here. All right. Well, thank you guys very much. This was a really good show. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you very much. Tune in tomorrow, 9 p.m. We'll see you back here live Sunday night with a countdown. So we'll be 10 minutes late on Sunday night, but we'll have a countdown.
No,
we'll have a countdown.
So
Thanks very much,
onward
everybody.